Joining us now is a man who threw a lot of balls to Davante Adams, no matter how many people were covering him, and no matter what the play was called. A ball was potentially going to 17 in a massive moment from this man's hand. This man, 4-time NFL MVP. This man, new quarterback for the New York Jets. This man, walking faster than any human has ever walked after tearing his Achilles. This man gives nicknames that start jerseys in pharmaceutical companies. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah!
What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, great to see you. Let's piggyback off what we were just talking about. Davante Adams, after the game, was asked about his production last night, had 46 yards. Then he said, if we're only going to throw me the ball when I'm single coverage, I'm only going to have 22 catches. At what stage did Davante start becoming the focal point of defenses? And at what stage do you, as a quarterback with Davante Adams, just have to not care about any of that and know that he's going to make a play?
Well, Davante's always open. That's the facts. Covered to him is just different than other people. He's got just an incredible skill set. He's got range. He's got ball skills. He can create separation. He's the best in the league at late hands. So you just got to stick with him. And listen, I watched the game last night. I love Davante. He's still a dear friend of mine. I thought he handled everything really, really well because that game meant a lot to him. Going back against your former team, 4 targets, that ain't it.
You would understand why he would maybe be feeling a certain way after the game. And if you're Jimmy G, obviously you've been in this position before, and take us through this. Because whenever somebody says they're always open, I don't think we fully understand it. Like, even if somebody is standing on him or 2 people are on him, still a guy that you give a chance to. Is that what everybody means whenever it's like always open, or what does it exactly mean for a quarterback?
Well, look, Jair is a fantastic player for sure, and I love Rasul. Rasul is a great competitor as well. Those guys weren't, singled up a lot. It wasn't like Ja was following him all over the field, and it was just one-on-one matchup. I think that's a misnomer. There's not these one-on-one matchups anymore in the league, really. Like last week, we had 2 days ago, we had Garrett and Pat Surtain, who's phenomenal, phenomenal player. And they're like, it's going to be a great duel between Pat and Garrett. No, you motion from one side to the other. A lot of times, unless they're man covers, the corner stays backside. So you're not even getting that matchup all the time. Now, there were certain times where Pat traveled with Garrett, and you saw some of that matchup. But just like last night, they moved Davante around. They put him in the slot. Ja's going to stay outside in those situations. Plus, they had a lot of help for him. But when it comes to feeding them, you just got to give him an extra look. You got to give him an extra look. Because he's able to do things on different timing. And there was a comment last night about, like Jacoby Myers, gets open on time or something. But that was like the gist of the comment. And I was just kind of laughing at myself going, that's an uninformed opinion that actually isn't based on fact at all. Because the facts are that what Davante does at the line of scrimmage, what Davante does down the field is like no one else can do. And you have to give him opportunities. We played Minnesota a couple years ago, our last year together. And they say, we're going to play 2 trail. We're going to play a 2-man trail on him. And we hit 2 hitch conversions against 2 trail because literally they thought there's no way they're going to throw this ball. We got a guy underneath. We got Harrison Smith over the top. And I just said, we talked on the sidelines. He goes, hey, I think we can fit a couple quick hole shots in there. And we did. And we're just kind of laughing because they don't expect that to happen. But you have to kind of stick with certain plays and trust that Davante is going to be open because that's, when you got an offense and you're trying to be dynamic, you got to get the ball to your best player. So, listen, it's tough. They try to take him away. He's going to be the focus of every single game plan, but you got to still find ways to get him probably more than 4 opportunities.
I think Jimmy G is going to be pumped to hear all that, by the way. Like, legitimately, coming from you, it would make sense. Go ahead, AJ. No, legit. I'm saying, like, he's probably going to listen and be like, okay, like, that makes sense. Because he wants Davante to be great, too. You know what I mean? I don't think he wants to deal with that. Don't you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, good. All right, sweet. I think we just made the Rangers better.
You throw it to 17, life's gonna get better. Life's gonna be better. Stats are gonna be better. Offense is gonna move smoother. You gotta give him some chances.
Go ahead, AJ.
I'm not talking specifically about Davante. We know he is different, but have you seen quarterbacks in the past, or has it ever happened to you where you feel like, all right, this guy's not getting enough targets. He's a stud. I got to find a way to get him more looks, and you have to force the ball to him. We always hear about this, like if a stud's like OBJ or something comes to a new team, oh, are they going to feel like you have to force some balls just to try to get him going? Is that a real thing?
I think there's a few things at play. One, you got to find ways to get a guy a ball early in the game. I think to get him into the game and get him feeling good about being a part of the mix. And so we would use run solutions a lot of time as those things. So we have a run call, then we have just a little smoke route, line of scrimmage, or maybe a one-step slant, and trying to get him or a bubble. I always tried to get him a ball early in the game, and I did it with Jordy Nelson as well, and Greg Jennings and Driver over the years, where you want your best player, your best skilled player to kind of get in, feel like they're a part of the game early, just so they kind of get in. So get them a couple balls early to get them going. It's a different, when you say force feed, it's a different meaning with a guy like Devontae compared to somebody else because he's just more open than probably everybody else on the team. And he has a wider catch radius and all these things that I mentioned earlier. So you have to kind of find a way to get him involved. Sorry, I got my BFR going.
Is that thing putting your Achilles back together? It sounds like a bunch of people just came out and let's go ahead and piece this thing.
Yeah, it's 5-minute sequences here. So this is we set this up so I'm in the middle of rehab, so I have a 5-minute window where now it's all pumped up.
Hell yeah.
And then
appreciate
it's played, and then so in 10 minutes you're gonna hear that noise again if we're still doing this.
Hey, sounds good to me. But I appreciate all this information because I think a lot of us, whenever we hear like, hey, he only had this amount of targets, and then somebody could say, well, he was covered, and then analytics people will be like, well, he was more covered than this. What you're saying is there's some people that is not like, it does not matter. And Devontae is one of those humans.
It's that, but it's also, you got to find ways to take the double off. If you're gonna set them up outside, and especially outside the numbers every single split, you're going to get doubled a bunch, right? But if you move in slot, if you motion, if you get them into, number 3 and a 3-by-1 and throw them a bubble maybe to get going. On that drive where he had 3 of his 4 catches, you saw they put him in the slot. He ran a looky route. Packers were bringing pressure. Preston was kind of, in no man's land there, and people wondering why the hell he's doing it. Well, every now and then you got to bring a pressure, and you have to drop an end. Like, that's part of it. Like Jimmy G did a good job looking off to the right, holding the backer to the right, and then, coming back to Devontae, and then they came back. Yeah, it's beautiful. You get the clip right there, and then came back and he threw him a screen, I think, on one of the next plays, and then you hit him, on third down the red zone. But it's, you got to, the last part of this is something that happened over time. When you have a player that comes from another team, right? You know how much that means to them to go back and play your former team. Like, as a quarterback, there's just something that's like, man, I want to get this guy a touchdown. I want to get him involved. I want to make him feel, because we're all competitors. You want to make them feel like, hey, you messed up. You messed up not bringing me back. And there's something in you. It's like, I got to throw this guy a touchdown. I got to get this guy a ball, in the red zone. I got to get this guy a lot of opportunities. Look, Devontae handled the right way. He's a pro. And Jimmy's doing the best he can, and I felt like he played a pretty clean game last night, and they got the win, which is the most important thing. But if you want to be dynamic, and we went through stretches like this over the years for sure, where Devontae didn't get the amount of targets that he probably should have in that game. In the following game, it was always like, all right, 15 targets coming your way.
Yeah, that's like A.J. Brown a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And then for our team, the Colts, we had Andre Johnson from the Texans, obviously, on the Colts. I think he maybe had like 20 yards the rest of the season. Against the Texans, he went for like 360, 4 touchdowns. Andrew Luck was like, where are you? How are you? Let's go ahead and do this entire thing. It's interesting because the humans that are involved, let's talk about the humans that are involved on the other side of the sideline last night. Whenever you're watching the Packers and Jordan Love, are you judging? Are you trying to guess what plays that LaFleur's calling? And whenever you see where Jordan Love is at, especially in that primetime moment last night, what are your thoughts, and do you send him a message?
Yeah, I sent him a message last night. I love Jordan. He's a great kid. I think he's showed a lot of things early in the season. He's shown the ability to throw the ball down the field. He's very athletic. I feel like he's had some number of really nice look-offs and just a number of plays that kind of, I think the average fan has got to be like, oh, this guy is going to be around here for a while. This guy can really play. As we've seen in New York and Jersey, with our young stud, week to week, the narrative can really change. It can be, you're, not the guy, and this is a mistake one week, and the next week, you're going to be around for 15 years. And that's the overreaction of our league. And the important thing as a quarterback is just trying to keep your confidence, not kind of get into all the bullshit. Realize it's just part of it. There's going to be ups and downs in your careers, ups and downs in the season. You just got to keep pushing through. You got to be the same guy every single day. You got to inspire your teammates and bring that consistency. And they got a bye week coming up, and then going to, I believe, Denver, I think, after that. So a good chance to bounce back for them. But love Jordan, and obviously watching the game, there's things about the offense that I know because I ran similar offense there, so I have an idea about what they're trying to do. I felt kind of like in our game, there were times in the red zone where maybe they weren't as aggressive as they could have been. We in our game had a couple where we kind of ran the ball, and then one of the toughest plays in football is like 3rd and goal from let's call it 7 to the 10. There's just not a lot of great plays in that situation. Even 6 and 5, I feel like those are tough situations. So I thought he made a great throw to Christian on the keeper where Christian kind of got lost there. And Peters actually makes what turns out to be a great play to stop. I mean, if Christian scores on that play, it's 17-10. That's a whole different ball game. He horse collars them, gets them down like at the 5. They hold them to a field goal. Now it's 13-10 instead of 17-10. That was a big game-changing play. Obviously, he got unlucky, on the tipped interception. The other one, he probably just didn't see the inside backer there on the strike route. But listen, there's going to be growing pains. I had growing pains my rookie year. We all go through it. My first year starting, my 4th year, just like him. He's going to be just fine. Like I said, he's a great kid. They got a young team. They've had some injuries. Aaron Jones has been out the last few weeks. He's a dynamic player. Christian, had been out, just came back this last week. So I would just say to the Packer fans, just take some deep breaths. Just trust his kid. He's a great kid. He cares about it. He's going to be around for a while, and they're going to get it fixed.
Okay. I think Packers fans are going to love hearing that. And as you were talking about being more aggressive in the red zone, Ty gave a thank you over here quietly. So he was very appreciative to hear that you're thinking along the same lines as him. Let's talk about another young kid. Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, speaking of young studs, C.J. Stroud has zero interceptions to start his career. And it's not like he's not throwing the ball. He's 3rd in yards as well. How, as someone who is the best of all time at not throwing interceptions while still throwing for yards, how impressive is it as for a rookie to be doing that this early in his career?
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. Ball security is job security, and he's done an incredible job of that. I would be interested to look at how many. I think because they track this, and again, I think some of it is subjective in nature, but they track the number of turnover-worthy plays, and I'd be interested to see how many throws were in that category, because I feel like overall he's been doing a fantastic job of taking care of the football and not having plays with, that should have been picked, or that was a bad read. I don't feel like in the few times I've seen him on the Red Zone channel when the games have been on, he hasn't been making bad decisions. So just again, I don't know him at all, but from afar, I do appreciate he seems to be a really humble kid. He's got his head screwed on the right way. He's a tough kid. And a lot of people were dogging the Texans. They're going to be terrible. But what D'Amico's done there, especially after a 0-2 start, and coming back and winning a couple big games, they had a tough one there at the end. TJ had an incredible drive. I saw that to put them ahead late in the game, and they just couldn't stop them there on that last drive. But 180 something throws in a row.
I think 180. Yeah.
Yeah, without a pick to start a career, that's phenomenal. And then, Tone, like you said, I think the most important stat is not like he's throwing for 150 yards a game or something. Mm-hmm. He was averaging, I think, 300 a game before this last game. So big props to CJ. Great start to his career. And again, ball security is job security.
What do you think? Do you think he's understanding defenses better than others? That's a big part of the turnovers, or no?
Listen, there's some things about coaches that get too much credit, and some things about coaches get too much blame, especially when it comes to offense. I see certain things like they're blaming the coach for this specific call or this thing that happened. It's like, no. At the end of the day, the coach makes a call, and then the quarterback makes a decision. So the coach has an opportunity to put the quarterback in a position to be successful. but the quarterback ultimately has the final say-so on where the ball goes and what decision actually gets made. So I think there's got to be some credit to his coordinator for putting him in a good position. But at the end of the day, CJ's the one pulling the trigger, and he deserves a ton of credit for making accurate throws and being opportunistic and taking care of the football. Because as a young quarterback, that's a lot of the growing pains is usually the fumbles and the picks and the turnovers, and he just hasn't done them. So they've been in a lot of football games, and I think they're 2-3 right now, which most people probably didn't think was going to happen in the first 5 games. So a lot of love for CJ. Great start to his career, and continued success, young man.
Especially without Jack Easterby down there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I read Jack Easterby. I don't know if you know who that guy is. He was FCA guy for the Patriots, assistant GM / owner of Texans in a matter of just like 12 months. Good prayer circle, get you to the top there for Jack Easterby. He leaves. We didn't know how they fill their void. Well, Caserio seemingly knows what he's doing. So does D'Amico, and CJ's balling. You talk about, the coordinator's job is to put quarterback in a good position. But ultimately, it's the quarterback that's pulling the trigger. Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, seemingly a great tag team. I know you complimented them last week. Another week of dominance for Brock Purdy. And Dan Orlovsky came out and said that you put Mac Jones in that offense, Mac Jones would be doing the same thing that Brock Purdy is doing right now. I guess in theory that makes sense because Mac can throw every ball. He's accurate. He does this. Brock Purdy's brain, though. Oh, what's that?
Show, man.
You're not working, bro.
Who's that, JK? Is that JK?
You're not working.
What I gotta do.
Hey, he's not working.
JK!
You gotta let him work.
Hey, what's going on, man?
He's jealous. He wants
Hey, look, I'm out here working. I see him on the TV talking on the phone. Why didn't you let him get to work?
He's got that machine. He's got that machine on right
That's
now.
what I gotta do. Man.
Got those
I'm
modalities
gonna
over
let
there.
you get back to
Hey, thanks, bro.
I'm on my second sweat.
I'm proud of you.
How
You're
old's
almost walking.
How old's he? How old's he? Hey, how old is he?
He's young. Very young.
Yeah, you're 39. I love the fact that he's 24 years old. We just looked it up. 24-year-old coming in there. Hey, old ass.
I'm working.
What do you got?
My second sweat.
Right outside the door here. It's on TV for sure.
Yeah, well,
I love JK. Is an awesome kid, man. He really is. He's a fantastic kid. It's been fun to be pushing with him. I mean, there's, we had another guy in here who tore his Achilles. Unfortunately, we had an injury again with my squad, another Achilles. So there's a few of us who are going to be pushing each other to get back. But JK had surgery a couple of days after me, so we've been working together a bunch.
well, we love that Achilles healing factory. You guys go, hey, you guys keep pushing each other.
Yeah.
Keep pushing modern medicine forward, too. We appreciate that. Seems like everybody's way ahead of schedule. I want to get back to what I was asking about Brock Purdy, though. You put him over last week and talked about him, and you talk about how the quarterback is ultimately the guy that has to pull the trigger and put the ball there. So it's not just the coordinator. Dan Orlovsky said you put Mac Jones over there, he'd be doing the same exact thing that Brock Purdy's doing, and Dan probably has a reason to say that, but I feel like that's everybody's opinion that doesn't like Brock Purdy. They just think it's Shanahan's offense and yada, yada, yada. This dude makes seemingly every right decision quicker than any young quarterback has in a long time. I guess C.J. Stroud is another guy to kind of throw into that thing. Why is that the thought? And do you think Brock Purdy hears any of this whenever he's going about his business throughout the week?
Oh, I hope he does. I hope he does. Because that's just a little extra fodder, a little extra motivation on the shoulder. I'll tell you what, man, I don't know how you watch that film and come to that conclusion. I know there's a lot of so-called experts on the network that you're repping now.
Whoa, don't throw us into that old thing. Whoa. Hey.
No, nobody on your show. I mean,
Of course.
you guys all have educated opinions, but you're also open-minded to not be having all the answers. You constantly are talking about, how you guys are, well, you personally, how you're not the smartest in the room.
All of us.
And I'm not claiming to be the smartest in the room either, but I will say that when I watch Brock Purdy, I see a guy making some big-time throws. And he made a couple the other night that were incredible, throwing over the top of guys, throwing around guys, moving up in the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, making plays. And, yeah, Kyle's a great play caller. And Kittle, I saw him on the show yesterday. He's a great player. And Debo's a fantastic, Swiss Army knife, and CMC is one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the league, and the line is great, and on and on and on. And at the end of the day, one guy pulling the trigger. And he's been making a lot of really good decisions. You talk about interceptions. He doesn't have one yet on the season, I don't believe, right?
No.
So this kid, he was drafted with the last pick. There's some motivation. I remember we played him in the preseason that year, and he came in and he took him right down the field. I remember thinking, like, man, that's pretty cool for that kid. Last pick in the draft.
Hey.
Might have a chance to make the team. Alan would say there's a lot to that Iowa State mentality, I'm sure. How they raise them out there. I know Ty doesn't like that.
Yeah, he'd be wrong, but that's okay.
But that's it. But I would say that's probably a pretty fun city to hang out in, right? Ames.
Pretty
good.
Yeah, the armpit of America. You bet.
What is
Fun
your
city
problem?
to hang
Ames
out
is
in.
a good place.
Nah,
They got good people up
You want to
there.
have fun in Iowa? You go to Iowa City, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, I'm not going to Waterloo.
I mean, not according to Brees and not according to Alan Lazard. But anyway, listen, Brock's done a great job. I hope they keep shit talking him just for his sake. Just give him a little extra motivation because that's always fun. But I think he's quieting people every single week.
I love it. And he's getting paid $940,000. They can do so much with
And
that.
he's living with a roommate, I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, a roommate, and he's doing the rideshare program as well or something like that.
He's probably having it because if you think about the taxes out there, $940,000 high.
Yeah,
Making like 200.
High, and then rent in high.
living paycheck to paycheck.
This guy's clearing $14,000 this year. Slicing and
Maybe
dicing.
he's a part of a co-op, and they have some sort of barter system for
That'd be
goods
sweet.
and services and stuff, just to cut down other ways to save money. Who knows?
Yeah, I wonder how it's all working. Hey, we hope you survive this year off the field. This is old school. This is old school.
Yeah.
Guy's got 2-3 jobs to play in the NFL. That's how much he appreciates this thing. AJ has something for you, Aaron.
Aaron, how did you feel watching Zach Wilson and your boys rally behind the old coach, behind Hackett, and get the win over the Denver Broncos?
I was a little nerve-wracking for sure at times, but I loved every minute of it. I think one of the coolest things is watching the end of that game, just to see how people love Nathaniel so much. And he's not going to be making a big deal about it, but he's a man. And those comments were horseshit in the beginning of the season, and we all wanted that for him for sure. And so I'm really happy for him. Happy for Zach. He made some big time throws. He made a big throw on the stick nod to Big Conk down the middle. That was really important. Had a couple other big third down conversions. And then, Quincy coming up with a big strip sack and Bryce picking that up and running in was pretty special. So proud of our boys. That's a big win for us. Awesome for Hack. Again, you can see all the love. I mean, just nonstop hugs. Solid game in the game ball afterwards, and just really proud of our guys.
You continue to crush hashtags, just absolutely slaughtering them on all social media platforms. I did appreciate you making a rare appearance on the internet going, keep my coach's name out your mouth. Just a little bit of a callback there after that game. Did you see how Sean Payton handled it afterwards? And have you talked to Sean Payton since this whole thing took place? Okay.
No.
All right. Dead forever. Fine. We are never. Is that it?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him. So.
Nice.
Are you open to talking to him?
Yeah, no problem. No problem talking to him or anybody.
So if
I
he
don't know
was
about that. There might be a few people. You might not.
So
There might be a few people. Yeah, there might be a few people.
So Sean Payton FaceTimes you. Let's say he FaceTimes you later today.
Well service.
And you answer that.
Be a FaceTime? No, it's got to be a FaceTime. It's a call. It's not going to go through.
So it has to be a FaceTime.
I think we all know that.
The everybody learned that.
Now we do.
Certainly. While the Dolphins are doing it, okay, the Dolphins are doing it out there. You have your Achilles hovering above two Dolphins fornicating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
He FaceTimes. Are you stopping the rehab of your Achilles to talk to Sean Payton?
Depends if the ayahuasca is hitting at that time. If it is, sorry, brother. Can't pick it up.
We do not have time. Can't wait to hear how that goes. Ty has a question. Yeah, did you appreciate the Jets' social media and how everybody responded to this thing?
I love our social media. I think they do a great job.
They got good content. What was that? Jets Drive? One Jets
Yeah,
Drive?
one Jets Drive. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's phenomenal. I think we've been learning a lot about the Jets through you visiting over there. The PR guy, certainly something, but the social media team, fantastic. Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Aaron, I don't know how much you've seen of him this year, but Gardner Minshew's kind of taken over in Indianapolis. Obviously, AR gets hurt. He's been hurt a couple times. And I know, like, the saying is, like, hey, backup quarterback always needs to be ready to go in, be ready to play. But I know, like, as a fan of the Packers, watching you guys, like, if you would have got hurt, everyone's like, okay, well, we're shit out of luck. You know, that's just kind of the way it is. So you don't ever really expect it to happen. But Gardner's played in, I think, like 4 of the 5 games so far this year. And he's also going to start kind of now moving forward with AR has an AC joint issue. Obviously, you're never in that position, but how difficult do you think it is to kind of be a backup quarterback, but also know, like, hey, there's a good chance I might have to go out there and play meaningful snaps every single game, and then being able to just immediately kind of control the locker room? There was a clip of him going ape shit after they won. Like, how difficult do you think that situation would be?
I think it's much more difficult when you're a younger player. I think as you've gotten some starts under your belt, I would imagine, and then have some time on the field, it's much easier. You have experience to fall back on. You have positive memories to think about. You have kind of a Rolodex of good plays to kind of hit your brain at various times when you need some positive affirmation. There's some reminder about certain plays, and Gardner's played some really good football, and bounced around a little bit now, but he's very reliable backup, very reliable, and a guy who can come in and win games for you, not just kind of try and hold on, or you're going to win in spite of. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. I think I got to see some of his plays Sunday, and I thought he did a really nice job. And again, what's the formula for being effective? It's and sticking around. It's taking care of the football. It's being opportunistic, and then it's just keeping things moving forward and positive plays. And I'm sure he prepares the right way. He was ready to play. The young kid they got there, Richardson, he's going to be. He's got a chance to be really special. Now, like I tell a lot of young quarterbacks, sometimes you got to slide though. He's got to be. He's a big, strong dude. I tell this to Josh all the time. Josh Allen, he's been doing it for a while. But like every now and then, there's a time and a place where you want to run somebody over. Justin Fields, I feel like ran somebody over in the game on Thursday.
Gain of 0.
Wow. Yeah.
Gain of 0. It was awesome.
But those plays are not really sustainable long term, that way of playing. So, but he's going to learn, and I think he'll have a nice long career in the league. But while he's out, you'll get a chance to watch, a real pro in Gardner, and Indy's got to feel good about, him and the opportunity to win with him at the helm.
Hell yeah. And we got Jonathan Taylor back, and however long he needs, we got Zach Moss at running back. This guy's probably going to be trade bait, we assume, by the end of the season, or halfway through the season. What's that?
Zach Moss says, hey, I see you, JT. You're a great player. Congrats on the contract. Let me get 160 this week.
Yeah, real quick. Zach Moss woke up and said, you can make $26.5 million still at running back? Okay. Let me go ahead and do this thing. He's been doing that all season for us, though, because the offensive line has been so much better. Mm-hmm. So we assume that Jonathan Taylor will come in and help whenever he gets back to form. He's been out for a while. But Gardner Minshew, whenever I went up to training camp this past offseason with the Colts, I was talking to all the boys, and then I got a chance to chat with Gardner Minshew. Everybody said the same thing, like, He doesn't do social media anymore. He doesn't do anything. He basically said, I want to make the most of my football life while it still exists. Like it's almost like a perspective changer whenever people kind of get towards the end of their football run. I'm not saying Gardner Minshew is that. He could probably play for another 10 years. But at Jacksonville, he took over. He was the guy.
Yep.
Then he goes to Philadelphia. He's the backup, wants to be the starter, plays well, and they tell him, you're the backup to Jalen Hurts. Then he comes to the Colts knowing he's going to be the backup, but now it's like his team has been his team for the first 5 weeks, and it certainly is for the next 4 at least. That perspective about the end of your career and potentially not having football is a very real one. Whenever you think about that, do you think that's a motivator for guys? Do you think that's a clear picture that everybody needs? And did you have any of those situations throughout your 18-year career thus far that you can recall and be like, I appreciate the fact that I'm still playing at this stage where maybe through an era you can get a little bit kind of down into dumps and maybe not as appreciative?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's always moments. A lot of times it's it's very jarring moments for me. Maybe injuries that help you recalibrate your perspective. For Gardner, it could have been a benching or being cut or not being wanted back by a team. So I give him a lot of credit. Now I'm just going to throw this out there. This could be totally false, but he looks way more like a hippie than me. So I don't know if he's had some major perspective change. There could be some, use of plant medicine. If he has been, kudos to him. If he wants to reach out, I'm always here. But I've been a fan of his by the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and the fact that he has a strong mustache game as well. So, there he is right there. Look at him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yep.
In real life, too, just like all ball. That's all I care about. He's been the consummate professional, like mentor to AR, but also I'm okay being a starter still in this league. We're lucky to have him, certainly, and we hope AR survives. Connor has a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron, a lot of teams are in it, but there are some teams, the Patriots included, who are not. And some of these 1-4 teams, the season kind of changes a little for them, it feels like. Belichick said, the Patriots need to go back to, ground zero and kind of change their entire philosophy. And then the Vikings in the NFC North, they're kind of talking about, moving Kirk. Justin Jefferson's on the IR now. What do they do now that they're 1-4? From a player's perspective, even though, you weren't on many teams that were out of it by the time week 5 wrapped up, but from a player's perspective, when you hear your coach say those things, or you kind of hear the fodder of a team being, blown up and sold for bits and pieces, the Broncos, another team after you guys just beat them, how does that affect, players in the locker room and what that season kind of turns into for guys that are on those teams?
It starts turning into thinking about what your off-season plans are, where you're going to vacation. I would imagine. Now, listen, coming out of training camp, whether you want to admit it or not, I think everybody knows, especially veteran players know, that there's 6 to 12 teams that could win it, and you kind of know. And again, every now and then there's a team that comes out of nowhere, but you kind of know: are we that team or are we not that team? Now, every now and then you can get off to a hot start when you're not sure your team is there, or sometimes the opposite, where you might get off to a rough start, and you're thinking to yourself, like we had in 14, like, man, we got a damn good team. We just got to get something going here, and then we went to Chicago and won a game and got on a roll, and it just kind of happens for some teams and doesn't for others. But when you start hearing that stuff, and again, I've talked about it, and we've talked about it, and you guys talked about it, the trade deadline is so much more of a thing now in the NFL. And I think it's coming up at the end of this month, right? So you're going to see, just like in baseball, after that All-Star break happens, who's selling and who's buying. So basically, who's tanking for Caleb Williams and who's, trying to make a push here. And it sucks, because as a competitor, listen, we play this game for a lot of different reasons. But deep down, we want to win championships. We want to be a part of special teams. We want to make runs in the playoffs. We want to play in Super Bowl. We want to win championships. And when that gets taken away by poor play and then management or whatever the case may be, injuries sometimes, it's demoralizing. But start thinking about where you're going to go that's warm, that can take your mind off of the frustration of another season lost.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like what the NBA, because you're talking about the trade deadline. It's like I feel like the NBA has kind of ushered in this into the sports world almost, where guys like, hey, you know what, not happy here, hamstring, get me to a new team. Now there isn't as many guys that can play in the NBA, so they certainly have a lot more leverage. But if you're at the if you're one of the guys, you can kind of dictate where you want to go, how you want to do it. And I think the NFL is getting a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline as well. It's good fodder for us. Von Miller, though, remember, he got traded to L.A.?
Yeah.
He said he had no idea.
Right.
Just woke up and they traded Von Miller, who's like Hall of Famer out of town. That's always can be a bit jarring as well, Aaron.
Yeah, and there's going to be some of that for sure. There's going to be those names that you're surprised by. It's the NBA is a little different because they have the buyout stuff. So a lot of times, the guy gets traded to one team, like, oh, he's going to be in, stuck playing for the, Washington Wizards or whatever it might be, and then boom, bought out. Then he goes to, play for a great team like the Milwaukee Bucks or something.
Celtics.
I don't know about that. Boston, chill out.
Thanks for Drew.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I think at the deadline now, you're seeing just who's going to buy and who's going to sell. You look at the contracts, guys on expiring contracts. Obviously, that's it's always a guy to move, or a team that just says, you know what, this ain't working, we got to move on. And star player wants to go compete for a championship. You never know what can happen.
Were you almost traded? I don't remember if it was when your contract was up or if you were almost traded. Was there trade discussions for you? And did you have a no trade clause?
I got traded, Pat, this offseason.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's 100% right.
Forgot about that.
How about when Denver almost happened? Was it when Denver almost happened? Did you have to okay Denver? Like, how does that whole thing work?
No, there would have had to been, the Packers okaying it and compensation and all that stuff.
How much are you, because you had to give the okay for the Jets, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think not. I didn't. They could have traded me to anybody, but obviously I wanted to be in New York with the Jets.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Hey, happy that happened because Dame, remember,
Bingo.
in the NBA, he said, I won't go to Miami. He said, shut up. Yeah. We do not care where you want to go. You're going to Milwaukee. He's pumped to be on your team, though. Let's not get crazy. Last question here, Darius.
Championship.
Huh?
About to win a championship. Got to be pumped. About to win a championship.
Well,
Jimmy Butler thinking, you know what I mean? Tyler Hero is about to be back better than ever.
True.
Too. I mean, Miami's got a squad. Let's not get crazy. Darius has a question for you.
Miami always got a squad. But we were kind of talking about it earlier with some of these stud wide receivers. You kind of mentioned moving Devontae around. Mentioned also with Kyle Shanahan, him calling the shots. Well, calling the plays, but Brock actually calling the shots. If you're a coach for like a young quarterback specifically with like a stud wide receiver, when you're installing these passing concepts, is it more so based off of the stud wide receiver, like where this guy is, let's get him the ball, and then obviously if he's not covered, we go somewhere else? Or is it more so you're reading the coverages, you're reading these triangle reads? If you're a coach, how are you kind of, balancing that?
Yeah, that's a great question, DB. I think it's a combination of a few things. One, you have to instill some good habits, which is going through progressions, reading things out. The other is you have to remind this person that the reason this offense can be successful and be explosive is because of A player and B player and whoever else you really have to make a concerted effort to get the ball to.
Yep.
I think there's ways of doing it. You move a guy around. You put a guy in the number one spot. I believe for young quarterbacks, a lot of times, one of the easier ways of helping them get into a rhythm is to give them pure progression plays. So there's in the West Coast offense, there's three types of reads on plays. There's pure progression, there's progression with an option, and there's pick a side. So what it basically means is pure progression is you start with one side, you start with the number one guy, and number two, number three, check down. Progression with an option means usually you're in a 3-by-1 formation. You have some sort of progression to the three receiver side, and if you get a certain coverage, you can go to the backside guy as well. Pick a side means a lot of times you have a route concept with a 2-high side and a route concept for a 1-high safety side. And so you got to read the defense out and make the proper read and then throw it to the proper side. And when you're playing with young players, young quarterback especially, I think it's actually behooves them and gets them into a better flow.
Oh, who's that?
Sorry, I got another call. To be able to give them pure progression plays where there's less having to read something out, having to read a disguise out. We're just going to run 200 jet kangaroo, and I'm going to start with the slant every time, and then I'm going to check the post down the middle, and then I'm going to high-level the corner to the under, and then I'm going to have my back on the outlet. Just simple plays to kind of get a guy into a rhythm, I think, can be really good. And then when you DB, to answer the question, in that situation, if you put your stud player in the number one spot, that means that guy is always getting the first look. So it's a greater opportunity, I think, for that person to be almost force-fed more targets.
You never want to be the first person in sprints. Always want to be the first option, though, for an offense, especially with what you just lined up there. So it's a pretty easy job, that quarterback thing, it sounds like. And anytime you start explaining what you're doing every single freaking play, I think we all get incredibly compelled to say, bravo to these NFL quarterbacks.
Unbelievable.
But also it makes a lot of sense when some of them don't pan out.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of shit going on, especially in your world right now. I didn't know what that phone call was Pfizer or not to set up royalties. They're selling a jersey.
Wow.
They're thinking about selling a jersey. I don't know if you know this. Boom! Mr. Pfizer coming right up from the people at Pfizer. If you get royalties from them for that jersey and you play for the Jets, you'll be getting money from Johnson Johnson and Pfizer.
Wow.
Just something to think about. I think that is a business decision that you're going to have to make. But boy, Mr. Pfizer,
real?
Huh?
Is that real?
They're thinking about it.
Yes.
Research and development.
Yep.
They said
R&D.
R&D.
Any
Hard times.
publicity.
Yep. Bingo.
Wow.
seems
What's,
to hurt.
what's the problem?
It's a good idea. They said good idea.
Yeah.
Brainstorm.
You said it.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's fascinating.
Said
It's
assist,
fascinating. I mean,
assist.
the triggering though, was that not incredible last week? People getting absolutely triggered. Listen, I saw some of it. The Johnsons have been great to me, so I don't mind you call me Mr. Johnson and Johnson, Woody and Christopher and their families. They've been great. I don't play for the Johnson and Johnson Corporation. I play for the New York Jets. So I mean, I made a tiny little joke about a guy shilling for, potentially, actually not potentially, but for, corrupt company, and everybody kind of loses their minds a little bit.
All right. So if it was the Johnson & Johnson Jets, if they had a name change, would you play for the Johnson & Johnson Jets?
Great question.
Great follow-up.
That's a great question.
All right, something to think about. We'll get your answer next week. We'll get your answer next week.
I think ESPN is going to cut this off before I start talking about.
I will say, I will say this. I think this is something that we should say, especially since we are still on ESPN. There's been a lot of things that have happened with this show in our short stint here on ESPN, Mr. Pfizer being one of them. They haven't said a single thing to us. Not a single thing. It's almost like out of sight, out of mind. Also, if we start reaching out about things, it's going to become every single day. So let's just save our time or whatever. They've not said a thing, to their credit, or discredit, depending upon how you view it.
True.
I guess that is on you. They have been pretty hands-off this whole thing here.
You don't think there's a guy back there with a little button? He's just like, once he starts talking about something, I'm going to push this. I'm going to cut the feed. I'm going to cut it.
His name's Richard Good. He's actually the one that is, he's muting the F word whenever it comes out on ESPN. On YouTube, obviously, we're good, but that was a concession that I made. I said, hey, listen, we will not say this because it will be on in cafes and diners, and there's a chance that, the kids here. But everything else, we got to be able to say. And they're like, all right, deal. Sounds good. But Dick Good's the guy's name.
Yep.
He's waiting for, was that luck, truck, suck? What? And it's 5 seconds
Fudge?
to that.
Was it fudge?
But I don't,
Yeah, fudge.
Fudging.
Or just fudge.
RG3 said fudging.
Like bug.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's
The only word he'll bleep. That's the only word he will mute. There's no other.
Well, I mean,
Well, there's a few.
Let's not.
Come on, AJ. Not that we say.
Yeah, go ahead, test it,
Don't need to
AJ.
explore.
No, I'm just
Hey,
curious, like
Mr.
topics
Ohio.
or words. Like, if he decides what is good or not? Like, if there's only one word,
Yeah.
we have a lot of room to really explore that.
Well, I don't think topics was ever really discussed.
Let's
So
explore the space.
Richard Good's locked in on one word and one word alone.
That's right.
And we thought maybe there would be something at some point that would come up that they would send an email and I would have to sit in a Zoom call and explain why what we said was meant to be funny. Also, kind of true. But that hasn't happened at all. So we appreciate them. But you should try to get some royalties off those jerseys if they sell, because from what I saw in the reaction, there's a lot of people that are big Pfizer fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they would buy those jerseys. That's what I saw in the reaction to you. Did you see that as well? I was kind of surprised. I'm like, Pfizer, pretty good brand. These people are loving it.
Well, there's a lot of propaganda out there, a lot of propaganda out there.
All right.
I mean, listen, Mr. Pfizer said he didn't think he would be in a vax war with me.
Oh, boy.
Didn't think he'd be in a vax war with me. This ain't a war, homie. This is just conversation. But if you want to have some sort of duel, debate, have me on the podcast. Come on the show. Let's have a conversation.
Oh,
Let's do
okay.
it.
Pass it out.
Let's do it like in John Wick 4, right? So we both have a second.
Nice.
Right? So somebody to help us out. I'm going to take my man, RFK Jr.
Okay. Okay.
as an independent,
Hell yeah.
right? And he can have, Tony Fauci or some other pharmacrat, and we can have a conversation about this.
Okay. Well, I'm happy we got that sorted. Thought for sure you were going with Rogan, but obviously, Dr. Joe Rogan, I apologize. But RFK Jr., not a bad get. He's been at the forefront of this conversation on the internet I have seen, currently an independent. And could you imagine Fauci and Kelsey sitting down across from Aaron and RFK Jr.?
Appointment television.
I know you have that 500-page report already. That kind of got forgotten about in the whole thing. Hey, Pat, why didn't you? What's that?
That'd be big ratings. I
Oh
think.
yeah.
Yeah, and everybody would be really happy too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cause no
That's
problems.
what those things really do bring. But you know what does bring me happiness? Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. It's great seeing you. Great chatting with you. Feels like you're in great spirits. J.K. Dobbins talking shit to you is good news, and we hope the rest of the day's fantastic, pal.
I'm gonna go beat his ass in rehab here for the next 3 hours.
That's what I'm talking about. And then get yourself ready for a debate
Yeah.
about vaccines. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Rodgers. What's wrong with your friend, AJ? What's wrong? You just set up a debate.
Sounds like a great time, right? Let's throw some people together and debate vaccines and Pfizer and everything. Like, what a great Friday night.
Pay to watch.
Let's learn some
Put me in
words,
that
too.
room.
Yes.
Well, you're gonna what's it called? What's the
Moderator.
Moderator. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how mad society would be?
You and AJ
if
moderator.
I was the one moderating that entire thing. Society would be so mad if I was in there. I just want to be a fly on the wall, just kind of watching it all go down. Because I will say, for those that don't know, if you're living on one side of the fence, the other side is just as passionate as you are about the complete opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know politics that well, but I do see my mentions whenever the politics get dropped into it. And buddy, these people are never going to see eye to eye with these people.
Nope.
And I don't think any of these people understand how these people feel this way at all. So until death, they are going to hate these people. And until death, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. They're doing this. That's why we try to stay out of it. But boy, Aaron loves getting in there.
Yes, he does.
He loves getting right. Last year, or 2020, with the whole I'm immunized situation. So he was actually getting buried from both sides at one point.
Yeah.
It was tough.
From the entire globe. And in doing so, obviously, the tank top doofus, who's also on the screen while this is all happening, getting murdered, I'm like, who would ever want to dabble in this world? Never. But seems like we found at least 4 guys that want to dabble in it and do their thing. Travis Kelce, I think he's just like, man, what
happened?
Yeah.
flu? It was a flu shot.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Flu shot.
Trying to help.
You know,
Are they going to ask him? Are they going to ask him? Hey, are you going to call Fauci and try to debate Aaron Rodgers? Like, is that going to be his post-practice presser?
Travis is like, they're taking pictures of me smoking on my way to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, in the morning right now.
What's going on?
I got Aaron Rodgers
Cigs?
wanting to debate me and Fauci, because of the Mr. Pfizer situation. And then he's still got to go on and battle a low ankle sprain and still become the greatest of all time in the middle of a Super Bowl run.
Short week.
Good luck to all parties.
Yeah.
Good luck to all parties out there.
Travis
that
smoking
happen.
cigs on the way to work.
Yeah, he's just smoking a cig, I think. I think
Yeah,
he rolled
awesome.
Yeah, that's what makes him gritty. he said.
Backwoods, I think.
Yeah, I think he rolled
Oh, the honey things?
a
Is that what-
tobacco. Yeah, he rolled a tobacco, I think, a tobacco cigarette.
Yeah.
Little cigarette to start.
It was
the day.
not cig of weed, which
No.
a lot of people were saying. He wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't
Never.
do that.
Taylor wouldn't approve.
I actually heard he rolled up Zins, and he was smoking Zins.
Oh, some
so it's
nicotine.
not even.
That's actually a new
cool.
trend on the
Not a
talk.
bad idea.
It wasn't even tobacco. It's
Smart.
just nicotine.
Like
so.
crack.
His whole life's being tracked right now. The things you do for love.
That's right.
The things we do for love. Honestly, show's over. Right there. That show is over.
Nice.
Nice. Nailed it.
The show's still on. Show's over.
Okay.
It's a good way to wrap it.
I don't know if the show's over. He said he was still getting counted down.
I see commercial right here in front of me.
Okay.
I had a new guy in my ear there at the end there.
Oh, nice. We enjoy that.